All right, so good evening, everyone. And we'll follow the agenda as it is printed. And the first thing is, of course, welcome to our meeting. And thank you for accommodating me by changing the day this month. And next month, we'll be back to the third Tuesday of the month, which will be March 18th. So thank you for that. I don't know that. Does everyone know everyone? I think. I don't know if everyone knows Dr. Wilson. And I don't know if she's just listening in or if she is able to participate. But she is a member of Zeta Phi Beta, also a member of the League and voter services and she's waving and this committee. She doesn't get to attend a lot because she's pretty busy herself, but she is definitely a willing worker. She's also the sister of Yvette Carter. So the biological sister of Yvette Carter, yes. And the sorority sister of her as well. So that's who we have with us tonight. And thank you for being here. You should have received the minutes from the previous meeting. And if you had an opportunity to look at them, are there any changes to those minutes? Okay, and we want to thank Susie for taking such great minutes. I really appreciate that as well. And yeah, okay. Yeah, she takes very, very, very good minutes. So thank you so much, Susie, for doing that. Moving on to so the minutes will stand approved as they as presented. Moving on to updates, the county grant. It appears that we are still in the running for that. It's taken a little bit longer to finalize everything, but it's going well, and hopefully, once they do make the final determination, they'd said that everything had to be done by September, but because they haven't given final, hopefully they will adjust those dates, but we'll see. But either way, we will make use of that money. And I'm gonna say once we receive it. That's what. Okay. You also should have gotten an opportunity to look at the buttons and the ribbons. And what you saw, the buttons look great. They're fantastic. So I have those in my possession. Diane, we have button. I don't know if you received it because but button says gun. What does it say? Guns really do kill people, right? Is that what it said? I can't.
Actually, guns really do. Actually, guns kill people or something.
Actually, guns do kill people. Yes. So you remember that they always say, I think that comes from guns don't kill people, people kill people, or something like that.
Right.
But so the button is a play on actually, and so we ordered 100 of those for now, and we will order more as necessary. But those will be a part of our tabling. And the other thing that we have is ribbons that Susie ordered, the orange ribbons that represents gun violence prevention. So we have those. And Susie, please don't forget to turn in your voucher so you can get paid for that. And so we got those. And what I didn't put on is the stickers. We are looking at stickers that we can have on the table because every time we have a table and event, we always have kids come and the kids are looking for something. And we typically don't have anything to give to them. So we do have, we are looking at the stickers. And Connie sent me, and I sent them out. I'm going to try to find them right quick. So give me 1 second. So what did you all think about the stickers? Anybody? Susie or Connie?
I
I'm
liked
buying
them.
time.
I liked them. They had for those of you who weren't on the email, these were designed by the graduate student Rachel Way, who is also going to start our Instagram account. But she has a background in design, so I turned it over to her, and she created these 4 designs, which I'm attempting to pull up.
Yeah,
The
that's
only
what I'm
thing
doing as well.
I got a comment from Candy that there's not really room for our logo on them. But if we go with a square design, because that's what it'll end up probably being, based on what the 2x2 square, it gives us a little bit more flexibility and freedom to do a logo if we want to add our logo. I don't know if we want to do that for kids, whether they would recognize that or not. So
Yeah, we probably don't. I think it's fine. So here are the stickers that we have. Um, that's one. Says keep me safe. They all say keep me safe, but they're just various plays on those. Um, this one. That one. Can you all see? I'm saying this
yes.
like I'm okay.
Yes.
All right. And that. So those are the 4 designs that we have. And we just need to decide which design we want, or if we can we do a combination of.
I mean, if you guys give me feedback, I will take it back to Rachel and see what she can do.
Okay.
I like all of them.
Melvina put a comment in the chat.
Okay.
She said her son liked, I think, the last one, Melvina. This,
Yeah, this one, he's 9. So
yeah.
so he was like, what
That's-
is this? And I was like, so I think the image doesn't really resonate to kids that's keeping them safe or whatever. My own little test pilot group there. And he also liked the heart that was running, but he was like, is it going to school? And I was like, it could be. So
Oh.
Sheila said that she liked the one, the sticker with the heart above the words, keep me safe. So I think that was that one. So Melvina, which one did you say he liked?
number 4.
He liked this one.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's our expert, right? At this point.
I would think so.
Yeah, because that's who they're for. They're for the kids. So that looks good to me.
And does that give the message that we want to give to parents through the kids?
You know, I mean, it just says keep me safe. So like he said, keep me safe from what? And are we telling the parents to keep them safe? And what are we saying? Are we saying that you're not keeping them safe, or what? I mean, do we need to actually put
Wasn't
something
this one? I assume this is what the ones when we have the table out and it's the gun locks and all those things are up there.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a reminder to the parents, hey, remember you have the gun lock, keep me safe. So I put those 2 together.
Yeah.
I'm not sure to put more on there, but I cognitively went to, oh, that's because when we do tabling, we're doing the talk about gun locks, we're giving the gun locks. I could be wrong, because I don't think we want to put a gun on this though, right?
Oh no, we definitely don't want a gun on there.
No, but I agree.
Like a gun lock or anything that references guns, because it could be general, right? We could be saying
it could be
from the politics that are happening right now. Keep me safe.
Yep. It could be, clean up the environment. It could be make it so I live a long, healthy life.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, then
Okay.
it's right because it's all in um it's all relevant. So
Yes.
we're talking, so we're tabling and we have gun locks and we're giving out stickers and that. And so we put that together. Here, mom, keep this, mom or dad, or keep this, make sure you're keeping your kids safe from when you use these gun locks so you keep your kids safe, and then they
Right.
put on the sticker. So yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I like that. Susan, what did you, oh, you said you liked all of them,
I
right?
did, I liked all of them, and I agree, with what Dr. Wilson said, which is because we're giving them out, at the same time, we're giving out other gun safety information. I think that's, that's perfect. So we don't want to, do anything, negative for kids, so
Right.
I like that.
Yeah. And we just want to give them something because they're always looking for something. So so this, at least we'll have something there for them. That's what we found out. When we were in the swag community, we ended up giving out the fans because that was the closest thing we had that we could give to them. Okay. So Diane, what did you think about those stickers?
I'm a terrible marketing person. I have no opinions.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Well, I mean, I just, whatever I like isn't what other people like, but I mean, I guess if I had to express an opinion, I like the last one better.
Okay.
Miss Queen, it would be cute at some point if we got something too that said future leaguer on it or something like that, because we're trying to grow our next wave of activists here, or advocates, all the words we can't say right now, but I think that would be cute too. A future
Yeah.
leaguer.
Like the future voter ones that they get when
Yep.
I voted future voter.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that. Yeah, those kinds of future leaguer sounds good too. And I think we have some of the future voter ones. I think I know June had a lot of those. I don't know if she got those from the supervisor of elections office or not. But we can always have those on the table as well, because we can talk about, even if our tabling is focusing on gun violence prevention, we can talk about the other things that the league does, just like when voter services is tabling, they have our stuff on the table as well.
Well, and if we
Okay.
ever want to have good gun laws, we have to have future voters. We have to be
Yes,
cultivating them. We have to tie those two things together.
tie them together. Yeah. Okay, so Connie, I think the consensus is that we like the one that had
Okay.
the
And
last one.
I had sent the prices earlier, and both you and Candy wanted the middle size or the middle weight. It was inside, full outdoor and waterproof, or something in the middle that was more waterproof than the inside, but not as durable as the outside ones. And those are 100 stickers for 125 through the same people that did the buttons.
Okay.
Is that something we want to proceed with, or does somebody want to look for a cheaper vendor? Because this was a local company and we were able to pick it up locally. It's just it's not going to be the cheapest.
Yeah, that's that we probably go with what we have. I mean,
Okay.
go with what we, yeah.
Okay, I will connect Rachel with Brian at the printing B or B, anyway, with the printer, and then make sure that he can get the design, and then we'll go from there. And then I'll have Rachel also work on a future leaguer or future voter combination for a future whatever we want to do. We'll just have that design in the queue.
Okay. All right. And sounds good. Thank you, Connie. And Melvina was saying that, speaking of swag voter tabling, she loved having some educational talking points for the kids. So, you know, all of those are things that we can think about, because as we go through the document that Diane has created, we're going to be taking things from that to put into an informational card as well, to be able to give out. And then we can start thinking about how we can relate to the children as well. And on another note, I still want to pursue going back in the swag community to teach civics or history, or that. I just have to work toward. I mean, I have to get an opportunity to talk to them again, and to see how we can move forward with that, if we can. And maybe even if that's through the league, through Meet and Mobilize, or whatever, something that we can do. So I'll continue. I'll take some time to follow up with that. Okay, so we're starting to get our swag together, so that is good. And now we need to start looking for places to table and things to do. So we'll continue to work on that. If that's all for that, next on the agenda is a reminder that the Gun Violence Prevention Forum is next Thursday on the 27th. And forgive me, but I can't remember exactly. That's something I got from the state when I attended those meetings. So that is, I can't remember who's actually presenting that, but it's a free event, and it's 9 to 2. And if you want to, you can use that to register for that. Okay. All right. Melvina says that there's a community baby shower this Saturday at Lincoln. That could be an opportunity to table, but I don't know that we're ready, because I know I won't be available Saturday. So we probably, that's another good point though. As we hear of things, please just let us, as you know of events coming up, let us know right away, so that we can plan for it. But we can always Melvina, if that's something
I'm already.
NAACP. I see you. Send them to me. Send them out. NAACP Fair, May 3rd. Okay, all right.
If there's something to
go
do, I
ahead.
can't. I'm already presenting. I'm presenting at the health fair on birth equity. So if there's something there that you want me to present, I can, or try to put something on the table, I can.
Okay, you mean for Saturday?
For Saturday, and then the health fair is the NAACP Health Committee. We're moving it up from, we usually do it in the fall. We're trying to do it before summer to get some resources and stuff out to people while they're over the summer months. And so absolutely, we know violence kind of upticks over the summer because they're home with not a lot to do. They're home all day. So that might be a good place to get a table, and I can get us a table. I can put us on a list, and it's fine. I'm coordinating that.
Okay.
So kind of tell me if you want.
All right. Yeah. I think I can definitely be there. I say that so easily, and my calendar is always full. I'm pretty sure I can be there on May 3rd, but I'll get back with you on that. And but please get us a table, because we're looking for all events, and we will. But know that we're working on everything that we need to put on a table right now. We have the gun locks, we have the buttons, we have the ribbons, and then we have general information about the league. So we will have that. So I'll talk to you, Melvin, about that, and I can get you some of that. Some of what we do have, some of the buttons, some of the gun locks, if that's okay with the committee. Do you all agree with that? Yeah, so the more word we can get out, the better. And you can just put in the word for that this comes from the league.
Yes. Is there anything else I would want on the table?
Say it again.
What else would we want on the table?
We have, like I said, we have the buttons and the ribbons, and I can probably get to, Susie, do you have any material with you, or you would have to go to Janice to
It's
get it?
in the garage, in
Okay.
Janice's garage.
Okay. I can get some material to you before Saturday. That just some league material. If that's, yeah.
Yes, ma'am, just let me know. Can
Okay.
we,
Yeah. And as we go on, as we finish, go through this report and create our our information card, those, we will have those kinds of things to give out as well, that has statistics and such on it. So we'll work on that. So it may be small amount now, but later on, we'll continue to have the information. All right. Anything else on that? Okay, and as I said, if you're interested in attending the forum, it is free. So please go ahead. You can just click on that link, and it will get you registered. So the rest of the meeting, it is now 6:54, and we try to finish within an hour. So the rest of the meeting, we're going to do a review of the local gun violence in Alachua County report that was created and researched and developed by Diane, and she's going to take us through that. Hopefully you had an opportunity. Hopefully you had an opportunity to look over it. And now she's going to do a PowerPoint with us to go through it. And then if we have any questions about it, but this is going to be in our toolkit to use for our future events. So Diane.
Okay, thank you. So you can see the screen, my slide? Yes, okay, good. Okay, so people, when you hear the word gun violence, you know, we sort of, if you look at it technically, we call it firearm deaths and injuries. Now that I've been tutored on some of the language here, we tend to think about gun violence as homicides, and then when the action isn't completed, then it's an injury, then it's called an assault. Now, maybe you all know all this, but I'm just sort of getting some of the language out there. And then you hear people talk about accidental gun violence, but in the public health community, they like to use the word unintended because that conveys something that was preventable. So that you'll see consistently in the slides that I showed that the word unintended is used deliberately as a message to say this didn't have to happen. And I think the thing that I really learned in going through this data is that the suicide really is the issue, that sort of the unnoticed issue that I would suggest that we really focus on. So why do we need all this data? I kept asking Gwendolyn, you know, what our local data are here, because everybody keeps quoting all these statistics and they're always national statistics. And, you know, I guess I didn't realize this when I was growing up. I guess I'm very nerdy. And so I really wanted to know the numbers, and because the national numbers may not, and as it turns out, I think don't necessarily reflect what's happening here. So we really, in order to address the problem, we have to know what the problem is. And then the other thing is, how are we doing? How can we track our progress? And so the Department of Health, I relied on the Department of Health for the numbers that you see, most of the numbers that you see in this report. And I just want to quickly say that there's two kinds of numbers. And I'm going to go through this material quickly because you have it all in writing. But we certainly go back and answer any questions if you have them. So they a lot like the graphs that I'm going to show you. They use rate. They're defining the values in terms of rates, and the rate is an age-adjusted number of the events. So like the number of firearm deaths, and it's age-adjusted, and the number of events are presented as the number per 100,000. And that may sound sort of arcane, but you need to do that in order to track a population over time, because the number of people in that category may change. Also, if you want to compare, for example, we'll be comparing the state to the local level, to the county level. We can maybe compare blacks and whites and men and women. And so in order to make those comparisons apples to apples, we need to have a mechanism that makes them comparable. So that's the reason we use rates. Now, when you're looking at small numbers like we are, the number of deaths in Alachua County, the rates sometimes are misleading and they bounce all over the place, and you'll see that in a minute. So in many cases, I also give you the numbers because that sort of puts it into context. So I think it's important when we're dealing with small numbers to look at both of those, but rates are helpful in order to place ourselves, in a population basis. And the GPD has been really good about giving us reports. They've gotten a lot better and they're more systematic. The ASO, they could use some work. Firearm deaths are the 4th leading cause of fatal injury in Alachua County. You can see in 1999, it was 15 deaths, and now it's up to 40. So like the rest of the nation, we have a lot of deaths. So the first slide I'm going to look at is the number of firearm deaths by type of death and then by age group. And so in 2023 and actually 2022, there were 40 deaths in Alachua County. And I know these numbers don't add up. That's where the asterisk is, that these are the numbers that I got out of the Department of Health database, and I can't change them. So that I know that 30 and 8 don't add up to 40, but there's no way I can, decide where that 2 goes. So all I can give you is what I could find. But you can see here that there were 40 firearm fatalities in 2023, and we'll look at the change over time in a minute. And you can see the majority of the largest number of those was in the 35 to 64-year-old range. And the other interesting thing, which I think makes us a little bit different, is that we have very few unintentional deaths. In 2023, there were 0 reported. So here's so those were numbers, and now we're looking at the rate. So this is 2004 to 2023, and then blue is Alachua County. And so we were kind of bobbling along here, generally below the state rate. And then in 2019, we went way up and we came down a bit, but we're still higher than we used to be. And a lot of nationally, the rates went up during COVID, but they came down. So this is a little bit reflective of the national rate. So our overall gun deaths, the rate of overall gun deaths is higher now than it has been in the past. If you look at, you remember the table, that the number of deaths by suicide were accounted for 3/4 of the deaths in 2023. And you can see that reflected here. Can you see my arrow on the screen?
I see
Okay.
your arrow.
Okay, well, I just wasn't sure. I mean, I was showing the arrow here. Oops, I lost it there. So you can see that in 2019, I guess, it started going way up. I mean, this is just, again, they're small numbers, but it's pretty remarkable how dramatic the increase has been in suicide deaths. So that really, needless to say, caught my attention. So if you look at firearm suicides in terms of demographics, white people are much more likely to commit suicide, gun violence, and I think suicide overall, but we're just talking about gun violence. The white race is much more likely. The rate is 12.1 per 100,000 versus almost 5 in blacks. And then in terms of 2023, the number, there are 25 white people that shot themselves to death and 3 black people. More common in males, remarkably more common. And this is where we're a little different, or maybe a lot different from the national picture, is that the majority of suicides are in the 35 to 64-year-old category. Well, not the majority, but the largest single number. And then there's still quite a few over 65, and that 65 and over kind of is similar to the state rate. But it seems to me, and I've just looked at what people say about the national rate, but we had 6 15 to 34-year-olds kill themselves with a gun, and that's only 6, but it still seems to me very alarming.
All those numbers represent Alachua County, right?
This is
ones you
only
get.
a lot, yeah, so like everything I'm giving you is Alachua County, except
Okay,
like this is the state, but yeah,
Okay.
this is us. This is the focus on us. And so thank you for clarifying that. So here is, oops, I lost my arrow. Oh, there it is. So now here we are with the homicides. And so again, it went way up right during the pandemic, but it's really gone way, way down. And that, you know, there's been a lot of emphasis on that here in this community. Clearly, that emphasis on gun violence in the community has been very successful. And so this is, and again, this progress is only to say, yay, go, keep doing it, because we don't want to stop doing it, because it, you know, is a result, I assume, of all of the focus and the effort that people have put in it. So that means, yes, we're doing it right. It doesn't mean it's okay, everything's fixed. It means we need to keep doing what we're doing, but we know that we're doing something right there. So the interesting thing is homicides tend to be more common among Blacks. So again, the rate is 11. And in the 2023, where we only had eight homicides, only one of them was white and 7 was Black. Probably, again, not a big surprise. Tend to be more males than females that are killed by homicides, firearm homicides. I'm trying to get my language down here. And that tends to be more common among the 15 to 34-year-olds, the homicides. The injuries were a little bit harder for me to work with. The databases, that all of this stuff comes from various databases, and the hospital emergency room is in a different database than the hospital itself. So the data that I put in the report, divided it up between those two sources, because that's how the data come out. So obviously, if you have a really serious gun injury, you go to the emergency room, but you're shown on the database as admitted to the hospital. So there were, again, in 2023, 31 people who had a gun wound serious enough to be admitted to the hospital, and then 48 were treated in the ER and then discharged home. And so that's about twice as many injuries as deaths, and that's pretty coincidental with the state rate. So that's keeping, you know, I mean, I don't know if it matters, but I just thought it was interesting. So I did take that data. Now that I'm at home, I had a little more capability, and I took that data and I combined the hospital and the ER data, and it showed pretty much what I had concluded from looking at the individual data, and that in general, our numbers of injuries, firearm injuries, is going up, which is interesting, that the homicides are going down and the injuries are going up. I don't have a way to interpret that. I don't have any suggestions for what that means, but I think it's an important question. Again, the data were not only separated, but there were a lot of missing cells. So the way that the Department of Health reports it, if there's less than 5 in a cell, they say less than 5, so you don't know if that's 0, 1, or 2. So the data were a little bit difficult to translate into any sort of summary statements, but it looked to me like about 38% of the firearm injuries were categorized as unintentional. And I sort of thought about this as I was looking at the material, and then a couple of the articles mentioned it, is if you go into the emergency room with a gun injury, you're going to have less trouble with the law enforcement if you say it was an accident than if you admit that it was an assault. So they recommend that we, take those numbers, maybe not at face value, but all we can do is take what they say. But the question is certainly there. And again, the injuries, if you combine the two numbers, then you end up with, again, I combined the numbers and I got the Black rate among the Black race is higher for both hospital admissions and the white, the rates and the numbers. And 15 to 34 is where we're seeing the majority of those injuries. So it looks like a similar population to the homicides. GPD, as I mentioned, has been doing a really good job of collecting and disseminating the information, which I think is extremely helpful. The first 2 reports that they gave were in a fiscal year. Now they seem to be reporting, or at least this most recent report was on a calendar year. So the numbers were, you know, were about stable, but the first 3 or 4 months of this year, there was 0. So they're celebrating that. And now they're also reporting suicide. So I thought that was handy to, you know, to have that sort of additional information. So since there's so much discussion about, you know, oh, you know, firearms the #1 killer of kids and all that stuff. So I went back and I looked at 9 years worth of data. And in 9 years, there were 274 deaths. And then I looked at the incidence of fatal firearm injuries among youth. And you can see the numbers there, that I couldn't find, and maybe Melvina, you can help me with this. I couldn't find the total number of deaths in those categories. You can only look so long. I can look for them again, but if we could find those, we could compare them to the national database. But I mean, the national statistics that everybody keeps quoting, but that you can see that you know, that there are deaths among young people, but they don't seem to be all that outstanding. So we need to follow up on that. The thing that really caught my attention, we had 6 between 10 and 14. And then, but the thing that really caught my attention was there was 1 suicide reported in a child 10 to 14. So the committee is going to do a lot of work. So thank you very much. They're going to look at trying to change policy and laws, because that certainly, you know, all the data we have shows that, you know, gun laws work. People are less likely to commit suicide. They're with a gun. There are fewer homicides. I mean, so, you know, we know that that's an uphill climb in Florida. But policy and laws are at least certainly worth the time that we have to put into it. And then community collaboration. I know that that's something that's important to Gwendolyn. And then, of course, education is where we'll be putting most of our time, or the committee will be putting most of its time. So again, if I think that suicide is an area that we can really focus on, so we just need to, you know, the demographics for that are white males, who are generally, not exclusively, but generally over 30 or 34 or older, keeping in mind that there are 2 suicides a year, people who are under 24. So it's, you know, it's not a real monolithic population. The national data, we don't have data on our deaths, but the national data suggests that the people are more likely to live in rural areas, and that could be simply because people in rural areas are more likely to have guns. And vets, we know that vets are 1.5 times more likely to kill themselves with a gun. And then the states with weak gun laws. So that if you look at that, I think this is on the next slide, but if you look at the suicide rates there, they're really high in states that don't have that have weak gun laws as we do. So, and these are the things that you may want to particularly look at when you're thinking about your materials, is that there are risk factors associated with suicide, and these are listed on page 9 and 10. So we're going to talk about 2 things, or there's 2 things in the report that I'll just summarize quickly here. There's risk factors, and then there's warning signs. So risk factor is sort of a historical thing that you could be aware of. Say if you're in your family or your friends, either things that make people more predisposed to commit suicide. If they have mental health problems, if they have health problems like chronic pain or traumatic brain injury, there should be a comma in there, apologize. Environmental issues, harassment or unemployment, and there's a lot more examples. So you could pick out the examples. I just picked out a couple of examples. Stressful life events at the time that, you know, the person is really stressed out over a divorce or a financial crisis, and certainly a lot of people are getting laid off from their jobs now. Apparently, people that if they've been exposed, if their family members have suicide, if you have suicide in the family or a close friend, you know, that maybe normalizes it. And then historical factors they find, like child abuse, these put people just as in a general category of being a higher risk for suicide. Then there's specific warning signs that people should be aware of. If you live in a gun-owning family, you should be aware that if somebody talks about killing themselves, that they're thinking about it, that it's not like, oh, just having a bad day. You know, people talk about killing themselves, you know, feeling, I'm not an expert, so I'm just telling you what I read, but you know, but these are pretty much things that are really out there and pretty ubiquitous. Feeling hopeless, having no reason to live, you know, all these kinds of things that people can say that you might just ignore and think they're having a bad day. Those are things that are warning signs that somebody may be really thinking about killing themselves. And then how do people act? Are they using more drugs or alcohol? Are they, if you walk up into the room or you look over their shoulder and they're looking for ways to kill themselves online? Are they withdrawing from family and activity? Are they sleeping too much? Are they walking around in the middle of the night? That they all of a sudden go from feeling real stressful to acting real stressful and crazy to feeling relaxed and relieved because they're maybe thinking about they're going to end it all. And apparently there's, if you're a vet, then there's some other sort of significantly, signs that are attached to vets or more, seen more often in vets. So cleaning a souvenir weapon, visiting graveyards, these are things that you can read about that are in the report. But I thought that was very helpful. So that if you're a family member in a gun-owning family, if you're a member of a gun-owning family, then these are things that you would want to know. So of course, the biggest risk is owning a gun. And so this is what I was talking about before. Firearm suicides in state with a lot of guns are much higher than in states where there aren't a lot of guns. And again, suicide is more likely if there's not good gun safety laws. And if you look at the gun safety laws, the rates of suicide from other ways of committing suicide are the same regardless of the gun safety laws. So the gun safety laws really changed not the overall suicide rate, but the suicide rate from guns. Now, at least in Alachua County, suicide by firearm is the most common cause of the reason for suicide. So, you know, of course, we talked about the importance of laws and policies to reduce access to guns, but that's not a very big seller in this community. So we would want to really focus on gun locks. And this is just a quote from the VA. Just some people say, well, what, you know, why, you know, a gun lock? Are you kidding? Especially if it's an adult, but they're quoting that, you know, just that small barrier, even if the person is locking their own gun, that apparently that is a big help to making them slow down. It's not like, well, they're going to do it anyway. Apparently they have a lot of data to say that if you slow them down, if you create just a small window there, that will change the outcome. And then there's been some discussion, and this is something that I think that the committee could pursue, and this would be something I'm willing to help. I'm not sure how many of us are willing to do this, but they're in some of the gun shops will store guns for people. You know, somebody says, things aren't going so well with me, and they, you know, they'll actually get their guns out of the house. And there was like a little video. I saw a lot of videos online, and one of the things that as Gwen says, when we get the grant, you could put together some of these vignettes. So I saw 3 or 4 little, you know, just little short videos, and mainly looking at suicide. And, you know, there was one about this guy that came from, you know, from Iraq, or, you know, he was a vet, and he didn't know what to do with his life. And so he opened a gun store. And then there were all these, you know, all his buddies started showing up with their guns, and he bought a big, you know, a big safe and locked up their guns. So I thought that would be something we could see if, you know, the various places that sell guns, if they'd be willing to do that. And then of course, targeting our education. I mean, that's, you know, we've tended to target it, but I think we need to branch out and look at like some of the events where people are, you know, like hunters and fishermen and people like that we know are more likely to have guns, and really focus on suicide prevention there. As I said, the injuries tend to be Black residents. 15, most of those are 15 to 34 years old. The ones that were hospitalized, over 50% admitted that it was a result, the gun wound or gun damage was due to an assault. And over 50% of those treated in the ER said that it was intentional. But again, just being
Unintentional.
Huh?
You're unintentional.
Yeah, they claimed it was an accident.
Yeah, you said intent. You meant to say unintentional. You said
Oh, I'm
intentional.
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I was just checking to see if you were listening, Gwendolyn. I just want to make sure that you know, just, I don't want you to be bored and don't fall asleep there here. I'm almost done. Yeah, and of course, I'm thinking, well, you walk in and you treat them for a gun room and they walk, gun wound and they walk out. And whereas if they're in the hospital, you have more time with them. So anyway, I'm really not normally very cynical, but anyway, so that's a little bit of a mystery to me as to who those folks really are. Are they kids that are stealing guns? Are they kids that are on the street and just didn't, just didn't get shot? I don't know. So we talked about this, that that a lot of people are talking about the unintentional death in the young, and I don't know that we're seeing that. Now, is that a matter of the data, or is that a matter of Alachua County is different? And that may be that, our families are like super good. I mean, again, the fact that it's not a problem doesn't mean we don't address it. It means that, that what we're doing is working. So we just need to, branch out and do some more looking at the suicide. So again, safe gun laws, gun locks. I guess you all discussed the plan last time, and where are we time-wise? Okay, I got a few more minutes, and thought it was good. So basically the plan for the 2005 through 2000, that's a 3-year plan. So don't go in a panic that you have to get all this done right away, but to monitor the data annually, to encourage ASO and GPD to develop consistent reporting. ASO needs more work. I think we need to try to get more information, to get more demographic, more information so that we can better target our efforts. So, and if there's any other data, could we get a public health study? Could we get the public health department, get the hospitals to help us better identify who the people are, where they're from, especially the gun injuries. And then I know we're going to collaborate. I know that the Moms Demand Action, that's a group we're working with, and then work with maybe the suicide helpline and the VA. Of course, the VA is really big in this. So they've got a whole program here, and the health committee has, sort of someone on the health committee has a family member, and she's anxious to help us. So that's good. And then, we have, as you may know, that the League of Women Voters at the state level has made gun violence prevention one of the top issues for the legislative agenda. So that's good. We'll have much easier time collaborating with statewide organizations to engage in state legislation. And I know Gwendolyn said there's already a couple laws about gun safety that have been filed. And then, continue to work locally, because there may be things that we can do locally. Certainly we'd have more support for gun laws locally, except of course the state preempts a lot of that stuff. So if we get when we get the grant, as Gwendolyn says, these are the community awareness campaign is what the grant basically will fund. Those other things, are basically the partners, the members of the committee doing things. But we would want to try to get going on this. So we would develop short presentations on preventing firearms and unintentional injury and death, and then so we could go into like a meeting and not be the star of the show, or maybe go into a workplace and try to get that word out about suicide prevention, particularly because I don't think people know about that. So you're going to develop, you've already talked about the palm cards and trying to make them specific to Alachua County and what our issues are here. Social media campaign that, I'm not sure that may be in year 2 or 3. I talked about the videos. I think that would be very powerful for tabling. You put it up on the computer and just have that thing on a loop, and people can stop. And Susie, can you wait, or is this? I'm just trying to get through it before. Is that all right? Because I think you've heard all this, but And then the materials that you're already talking about purchasing. And the nice thing is Gwendolyn talked about the fact that we wouldn't have a lot of time to spend the money and we could buy a bunch of stuff as long as we know that it works. So table at events, as I mentioned, trying to branch out to ones that are, maybe attracting fishing, hunting people, and maybe out, the Watermelon Festival out there in the rural areas. Collaborate. I know you've already read all this. I do think, as I mentioned, in addition to, bringing our materials to the, to some of the places where firearms are sold and shooting ranges, because that's where people who own guns go. And we're not telling them not to buy guns. We're not telling them not to use guns. We're saying keep your guns locked. That's a pretty benign message. And I think that those folks, some of them I think will be, willing to take the materials and pass them out, because nobody wants to have a friend kill themselves or find a child dead in their barn or something. And then we'd have to find some local publications and see if we can, submit some articles. We used to have a column in the Gainesville Sun, but we don't have that anymore. But there are a lot of little periodicals around that maybe we could find. And then, as Gwendolyn said, we've already been doing this, distributing the gun locks. And this isn't in your paper, but I didn't know if I just put some resources or firearm safety tips and tips on setting up play dates for the young kids. So I said, that doesn't seem to be a giant problem, but you don't want to rely on history. You need to keep working at it. So requirements to buy a firearm, some information on gun laws. I don't know if you guys already know all this. Maybe you know all this. And then, so this is just a copy right out of the Florida statutes. And it says that people that have guns have to keep them locked up if there's any chance that a minor might get to them. And I didn't look up what the definition of minor is. I would have thought it was 18 and under, but in one of those other resources, it said 16, so we can look at that. But I think people need to know that it's a law that you have to lock your gun up if to make sure a child can't get it, assuming that they would be getting it in the if the kid breaks in the house, that you're not going to be found liable, but it's a misdemeanor. Okay, Susie, did you have a question?
Just a small thing, but there's so many great ideas here. And I noticed one of your bullet points was to collect videos of case histories and public service announcements, to use on the table, a video tour sort of thing. And I'm just thinking, I think that would be great, maybe for the Speakers Bureau, to incorporate some of that in a presentation that people know is going to be about suicide and gun violence prevention. But some of that might be pretty heavy on the table. It's pretty serious stuff. And people are just passing by at an event. And it might even bring harm. I don't know. I'm talking about PTSD kind of stuff anyway. But I haven't seen the videos that you've seen. So that's it.
We'll
Okay.
have to look at all of that, do some research, and we're small. Well, we're small committee in terms of the working part of us. I think there's about well, I always say it's about 60 people who are on the committee, but those that we work with is going to be a smaller number. So we're going to have to use that and just determine what's the best way to proceed with the data that we have. We are working on a PowerPoint for the Speakers Bureau. So when people want to have us do a presentation on gun violence prevention, we'll have that. That's part of what we're doing, and that's on the Candy's committee. And Diane and I are supposed to be creating that PowerPoint. I understand what you're saying about the information on the table, but we just have to kind of look at what we need to do in terms of that. So yeah. And when we do, I'm sorry, Diane, did you want to say anything to what? Did I cut in on what you might want to respond?
No, I was done. I was just trying to be done, within the time frame. But I mean, I think
Right.
those things can be discussed. I mean, I don't know. we could discuss it, but this probably isn't really the time to have that discussion, because and I think that's something that the person from the VA may have some opinions. I mean, and we could talk to the suicide prevention people. I mean, I think that all those things need to be considered and discussed, but if someone's thinking about suicide, that's a pretty brutal thought, so,
Yeah,
and
so that's
suicide,
what I'm saying. So what our task is now that we have some information in hand is to determine what we need to do with that information and how we
yes,
need to use it. So we're gonna have to kind of create a committee outside of work on these things outside of this meeting and start to come up with those things. And I was thinking as you were presenting when you talked about the mental health aspect of it, we might even have a workshop where we bring in mental health professionals to talk about these things because I'm not an expert in the area, and so we would need to have that as well. So we just need to look at ways in which we're going to utilize the material. That's a tool, that's part of our toolkit. So now let's develop what we're going to do with it. Some of the things that Diane listed toward the end was good stuff for a palm card or for an informational card to start to put out and say, or did you know these things, that. And we've already started that with the monthly voter, just putting a few little tidbits in. Did you know this? And we've done that for the last 2 months. So we have started that. It's all about awareness. And right now, yeah, that awareness, that particular is just for members of the league, but we will broaden that as we continue on. Collaboration is very helpful. And speaking of the VA, that's where we've gotten most of our gun locks from. That's who have provided the gun locks to me over the past year or so. So and I do meet on a monthly basis as much as I can when the gun violence prevention committee, the state gun violence prevention committee meets, and they are encouraging us to reach out to the VA because they work a lot with that, and we've had members from the VA come on those meetings to tell us, to talk to them and talk to them about they're working with the league basically. So we do have those connections, and we because we also yes, I believe in collaboration, so we collaborate with moms. And speaking of collaboration, on Monday moms is meeting, the legislative leg of moms is meeting with Representative Henson, and I had sent that out to you all if anybody wanted to attend that meeting. I will be going. It'll be in her office at 11 o'clock on Monday. So that's mom's initiative, but they invited all of us to come if we want to. So if you want, let me know so I can let them know how many of us will be there. And that's talking about the laws and the policies that we're trying to get changed, and trying to see what we can do to support Representative Henson with with what she's trying to put forward concerning gun storage. And we will next month, we're inviting the health committee to attend our meeting so that they can talk about how we can so we can talk about, we can hear how we can collaborate on some things together. Since gun violence is considered a public health crisis, then the health committee felt that they could collaborate with us as we move forward. So there's a lot of work ahead of us, and we're just gonna try to do it one bite at a time. We know, I mean, we super women, but we can't solve all the problems one time. Although we probably tend to think that we can. And we're gonna try to do it regardless. But we're gonna do as much as we can. I'm also going to talk with the Sheriff Scott, and we talked about having him not come to our meeting, but have a workshop big enough, or a meeting big enough where he can, as many people in the league and possibly and other organizations wanted to join with us and have a presentation. And perhaps it will be the sheriff and the police chief to talk about gun violence and what they're doing and how the league and how other community-based organizations can help. And I want to try to hurry up and get with him so we can be the one of the first to talk to him and to get that going. Yeah. Yeah, the sheriff's office would have the county data as well. So we're gonna work on all of those things. I thank Diane for her work on this. We appreciate it. We call her I call her the consultant. She said she's not a member of this committee. She's a consultant. I said, well, then you're a consultant to the
Yeah,
committee.
okay, well, that sounds good, yeah, because I think that there, you know, it was interesting to do that. I'd certainly be, you know, glad to help out as time goes on, but yes.
And one of the things that we focused on, everybody was focusing on gun violence prevention and street violence, and as that submitted the proposals. So, you know, we want to see, well, let's look at something. Let's look at suicide and domestic violence also, you know, is an area. But so suicide prevention and those that is a main focus that we're looking at for now. And but that does not mean that we're not also considering the street violence as well. And it is good to know that the numbers are going down. And hopefully it is because there's so much attention that's being drawn to it. And we have to also remember what is needed in order to have that happen, as in terms of those that, when I say what is needed, I mean what those that may be involved in gun violence needs in order to or considerations of suicide, what they need in order from us to help to bring that, to get the point across, and to help to continue to bring the numbers down. I continue to work with the alliance that was started as a result of the county and city, but I think they're still trying to understand what they're trying to do as well, and focus on that. Last night I was able to spend a few minutes at another meeting I was at to talk to Commissioner Duncan Walker, and she is very excited about the league being involved in what's going on with the county, with the city and the county especially. So it's a heavy lift, but I think we've gotten a good start. We got information. We started with our buttons and so forth, and we just move forward as we can. We have a plan. We take a look at that plan and we decide where we want to go first and what we can pick out and do. But it's going to require all of us to do that, and as much as we can, and perhaps we may have interns and such that might be interested in helping as well. So whatever help we can get, that's what we'll do, because we do want to make a difference and we do want to be one of the leagues that do that. It is one of the legislative priorities, so we want to continue to work on that. Anything, and Diane Melvina gave a link that might have some information in it that
Yeah,
might be of
I was
interest.
trying to copy it. I wasn't having much success.
Were you trying to write it?
No, I was trying to
took a-
copy it.
Copy it.
Oh, can you save it?
I'm going to try. Well, this is recorded, so it'll be there.
Yeah, but I wrote down the name of the page so I can probably find it. But
Okay.
I asked her for
I just found it, so I'll send the link to you.
Oh, okay, you could copy it. Okay, great. I was trying
Yeah,
to,
I clicked on it and I'm on
oh, I
that
think
page.
okay, I think I did. Now I see it. I was
Okay.
trying, all right, thank you. Thank you, Melvina.
All right. So I know it's 7:38. And so we'll finish up, but is there anything else that we need to talk about now? We just need to get to work, which is what we have done, because we've made it this far. I feel like we've accomplished a lot, but we need to get to work on how we proceed. And when that grant comes through, we're gonna do plenty. We're gonna have the opportunity to make a difference in the world, in the world,
And
in the community. We're gonna start with the
but I
community
think
and then we'll move on to the world.
the world, yeah, but I think that the suicide thing is important, and I think the people that are working on it, well, the VA people are, I think we have a lot to learn from them, but I think that they're sequestered from the rest of the gun violence people, so I think that we can, that's an important, public health issue that that a lot of people aren't seeing.
Well, that might be someone that we also need to invite to our meetings.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to have them come, because I mean, I think the sheriff and GPD, they're doing a good job, but I think where we can make a difference is to highlight and address the suicide. So the suicide prevention group and the VA, I think.
Yeah, we'll do those too, but we definitely, from a state level, they want us to have a relationship with the sheriff's office and so forth as well. So we're definitely going to do that. And when they first talked about it as far as Alachua County, I told them we were in the middle of a sheriff's race. So we were gonna see what the outcome of that was going to be, and that would determine how much how we would be able to move forward. So we're gonna move forward with that as well. And just to have that information and to see what they're doing there. But of course, we know we're also going to focus. I mean, we know our major focus is on suicide, through the suicide angle, and perhaps we'll talk about the who we can get to come and talk to us from the um from the VA. But eventually we just want to get to the point of actually do talking after we talk, doing something. Yeah.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you so much.
I thank you for the information, and I think I saw some things where I can start to pull out to make the cards, to make the informational cards.
Okay, yeah, I
Well,
think
even
that
from your PowerPoint.
yeah, I think that law is important because it's,
Yeah.
people are required to do it. So that might motivate them, especially since we're giving them free gun locks.
Yeah, that's a good one. I thought, yeah, to have the law.
Yeah.
We can make
Yeah, and
copies
you've
of
got the
that.
PowerPoint, so that wasn't that's not in the paper. Okay, well, ladies, thank you so much. Enjoyed talking with you.
All right.
Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything else do we need to do tonight? Dr. Wilson, I'll get some material to you before Saturday. We'll hook up on that and go from there. So, anything, I'll get material on general information on the league, get you gun locks, get you some of the buttons and those kinds of things to have there. And let me know if there's anything else that you can think of that you might need, but that's generally what we have right now.
And Gwendolyn, all those things are inside one bin. They're all together.
Okay.
Hopefully that'll make it easier. Or if you want me to go pull them, I can do that. So just let me know.
Well,
Sure.
since you said that.
No, I'm happy to do that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. Melvina, you taking yourself off mute for a second. Did you have something you wanted to add before we leave?
No, ma'am, I was just saying yes. Okay. We're good.
Okay. All right. Okay. And thank you, Connie, and you'll follow up, and then, and maybe we can talk some more about, Diane had mentioned that you'd mentioned something about an intern when they had the party. I don't know if you ever sent me the,
There was the potential that Santa Fe had an intern that might be interested if we get the grant in
okay,
helping
okay,
to
All right.
execute.
okay, very good, very good.
Mhm.
All right, well, thank you, ladies, for giving us some extra time, and we appreciate that. And we'll be talking hopefully in between, but our next meeting will be March 18th, and that will have the other committee will be here at that time.
Gwen, thank you so much for helping us keep our momentum.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all. I appreciate you all.
Good night,
All right.
everybody.
You all have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.